Yeah. Hello, Elaine. It's great to have a discussion with you. We're talking about the Islamification of the West. So, not exactly a cheery subject. This time, we're talking about your new book. We're talking about the indoctrination of children, young people from a very young age, the Islamic indoctrination that's happening as we speak, faster and faster here in the West, here in the UK. For you and for you, why? I mean, you know the Quran, you've studied the Quran and the doctrines in the Quran for many years now. Why is this worrying you, and why should this be a real worry to us at this time, in English-speaking schools for our
Well,
children?
well, this is about schools. So I have just completed, and I mean just completed because it's not even. I haven't got the book in my hand right now. Mine won't be delivered until June 8th, so it is hot off the press. What it's about is the hidden curriculum of Islamic schools. And first, I want people to understand that in order to write this book, I needed to read the entire curriculum, grades 1 to 12, almost 5,000 pages, while I was writing. And I did it in methodically in the same order that it would be presented to the children so that I could actually experience what they are experiencing and understand how it's taught. And I have quite a background. My university degree was actually in psychology, and I particularly enjoyed the lessons about behavior modification and conditioning and learning, and that is exactly what is going on in these classrooms. And it's how it's taught though is very selectively. There's a lot of omission. And I also studied some of the extracurricular books that they might find in the library. And throughout, there's very selective teaching, a lot of omission, and kids are not really given a proper, full understanding of Islam. And in fact, in the conclusion, I write, across the curriculum, students are not prepared for participation in a pluralistic society. They grow up
Right.
enjoying the freedom, security, and opportunity provided by Western society, while being taught that these societies are morally corrupt and that an Islamic state, which most of them have never experienced, is vastly superior. And the entire generation is being prepared to believe in an Islam that does not actually exist. And in fact, there are quite often outright lies taught to the children. For example, they are told that Islam abolished slavery long ago. And of course, that's impossible. It's in the Sunnah of Muhammad, it's in the Quran, it is regulated in Islamic jurisprudence, it is practiced now, it has always been practiced. And so this is an outright lie, but I'll give you a chance to say something here.
No, I was going to say, this is what I thought was really interesting was your point there about how, they're sort of indoctrinated or required to speak negatively about Western societies
Oh,
and to
yes.
feel negatively about Western societies. And yet, as you say, they're living in Western society and they're enjoying
Yes.
the,
Yes.
the cohesion, the cohesion, security, civil liberties, freedoms, and that are virtually guaranteed in Western society. So that's a bit of a, I'm not sure if paradox is the word, but that, well, it is. It's a bit of a, it's a worry.
Oh, it is. It is
Um,
because they believe they're experiencing human rights that they are told are insufficient in the West. And they have
yeah,
absolutely no clue what they are in an Islamic country. Because I'll tell you a few of the things that they're taught. For example, they're taught that Muhammad's farewell sermon was the first charter of human rights, and that is absolutely the pinnacle of human rights. And in fact, importantly, it underscores the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights. Now, I've mentioned before that at the UN in 1948, the Islamic states wouldn't sign the Universal Declaration of Human Rights because Islam is counter to it. They came up with their own Charter of Human Rights, but the children certainly don't understand that. They're told that it is absolutely the best human rights, and it's been around the longest, longer than any other. And they're told that the Charter of Medina that was established with the Jews when Muhammad migrated to Medina, that this established equality and pluralism, which it did not. When Muhammad went back to Mecca, conquered Mecca, about 10 years after leaving it, all of the idols around the Kaaba, there were 360, were smashed. And he said, we have brought truth and we have liberated Mecca, when in fact, Mecca had been pluralistic prior to Islam. It was Islam.
Right.
Not. Yes.
Yeah.
In some of the books, for example, Emmerich, and he teaches the children that Islam does not condone. This is in a book, actually, supplementary text called "What Islam Is." No, not that one. What Islam Is? How to bring others to Islam, and it teaches that Islam is not violent and does not condone terrorism. And in my book, I refute everything he says. 13 points he makes, and it is easy to refute all of them. And I want people to understand this using Islam's own doctrine. And this is important for Muslims, that they understand that the doctrine is being taught to them selectively. And in fact, the doctrine itself requires this simple obedience. Belief is important, and that they simply must believe what they are taught. And Islam...
Sorry to cut in, but what you do in your books is you show people how to look at it from a non-Muslim perspective. What's in the Quran? That's what I like about what you do.
Yes, but I'm hoping Muslims will learn to do this too. And I'm going to read you something here that's not from the school text. It's from this book here, Reliance of the Traveler. It's a classic manual of Islamic jurisprudence. Now, it's certainly not all of it. It's just the things that are well known. And I think I can put my hand on this. Yes, it says, in regards to knowledge, rather, what befits the common people is to refrain from discussing the subtleties of scholastic knowledge, lest corruption difficult to eliminate find its way into their basic religious convictions. Rather, it is fitter for them to continue themselves in contentment with the above-mentioned absolute certainty. They must believe what they're given. They're not to inquire too closely. And this is exactly how they're taught. It is the puppeteers, and I will say the imams, the mullahs, the jihadis, who know what the doctrine actually states in its entirety. The youth, by the time they graduate in grade 12, they have been taught very selectively and a lot of very important information, not only about what Islam does to others, but what it does to Muslims themselves. That is left out.
Because what really stunned me, Elaine, from reading your other book, we're not talking about that book, the book before this one, a civilizational reckoning, was the point you made about the ignorance amongst, should we say, British Muslims, amongst many British Muslims, adults, the ignorance as to what is actually taught in the Quran.
Well, you asked why I wrote this book, and before I forget, there were a couple of triggers, and one is that I have often heard from young adult Muslims. Okay, they'll be asking questions at meetings and things like that. So I've heard things from them that I know are incorrect. For example, that the Charter of Medina meant equal rights for Jews and Muslims, that Islam has the most wonderful human rights and has always had these black, white, any creed. It's always been like that. And these are young Muslim adults in Western society who believe it. And why shouldn't they believe it? This is what they're taught in school. Now, when you are trying to argue with somebody who has these deeply held convictions that have been taught to them in the way that this is taught since they were young, you can't accuse them of misrepresentation, because this is actually what they've been taught. And I also noticed it on, that's for the Islamic side. But for our side, you have people like King Charles and others coming and quoting things from the Quran and that totally out of context that they don't understand at all. For example, when King Charles said, it was a quote from the Quran that, Allah will not burden you beyond what you can bear. And it sounds so lovely, when really that verse endorses things like hadad punishments when you have your hand cut off for theft, because Allah does not burden you more than you can bear. So it's foolish when he says things that he does not understand properly like this. But in addition to that, there was one other point I wanted to make about the young British police officer who last year was discovered using a name Ruby B on X and making derogatory comments about Kafirs, non-Muslims. And one in particular, one of her own colleagues had used her mug, and this is a police officer, and she said, "Ooh, Kafir lips have been all over my mug. I'll never use this thing again." And of course, this is someone you are working with. This is someone whose back you're supposed to have. Now, how is this person going to be able to defend, say, a Jewish population or Kafir? Or, clearly she's made her feelings known, but only because you know what those feelings are, because she was caught. But this is what she's taught. This is what the doctrine does actually teach. And yet we have politicians who are opening these schools, gathering votes, promising. I just heard one of your UK politicians offering, all of this expansion to an Islamic community in the form of schools, etc. These very schools that they don't know what's being taught. And what is being taught is that Islam is not a religion. They are taught that Islam is a deen. And I really want to make this point particularly clear. So, and I also want to make it clear that Muslims are being misled as often as much as anybody else. So when they are taught that Islam is a deen, now there is a verse that is said 3 times in the Quran. It's a very significant verse. And it is He, Allah, who sent his messenger, Muhammad, with guidance in the religion of truth to manifest it over all. We translate that as religion. To manifest it over all religion, although those who associate others with Allah dislike it. Now, if you don't care about religion at all, or you're not too worried about this, you're going to think, oh, it's religion. The word is not religion. The word is civilization. The word in Arabic is deen. And people don't understand that. So listen to this again. It is Allah who sent Muhammad with guidance in the religion of truth, that's Sharia, that's Islam, to manifest it over all civilizations, although those who associate others with Allah dislike it. That's what it really says. Now, this is taught to the children over and over. And I want you to understand that they do have a word for religion, for example, or creed, a few, and one of them would be millah. But when it comes to law and authority, the word that is consistently used throughout the Quran is deen, and that's civilization. So I will read to you directly from their text here. I've got it.
Yeah.
I've got it someplace for you. All right. Now, this is from grade 12. Deen quote, deen, in fact, denotes a system of belief, a code of life. It does not merely signify the spiritual fulfillment of the individual. It means all matters pertaining to a way of life, for it encompasses religion, law, trade, commerce, morality, politics, justice, food, drink, clothing. In fact, all aspects of life relating to people's thoughts, or actions. This is the most fundamental point. It should be grasped in trying to understand Islam, because in this comprehensive sense, religion is a Muslim's life. All historians declare that the amazing success of Islam in dominating the world lay in the astounding coherence or sense of unity in the group, unquote. Okay, grade 12. Grade 8, Sharia literally means a clear path which we must follow as we toil on towards the Creator whom we will eventually meet. In its fullest sense, Sharia virtually is the deen, the civilization, which is often inadequately translated as religion. Deen literally means way of life following, or the way. This is also in Quran 45:18. This is from grade 8. So you understand that our politicians have no idea what they are authorizing. When they are giving protection to religion, they're giving it to Islam, and Islam is not a religion. It is a deen. The word deen is used approximately 100 times. The word religion or some form of millah, example, 15, but always in a minor sense. The authority of the law is deen.
It's like, I mean, just taking a step sideways, Elaine, it's like you often hear people in Britain here, you'll hear it in Canada as well, frequently saying, you see it on social media all the time and, out in the world, people saying, well, Muslims are complaining about this country, or some Muslims don't like this country, don't like the way we live, and yet they choose to come here, they choose to stay here. And, a lot of people here will say, well, why on earth do they choose to stay here? Why on earth, if Islam is so, if the Quran and the doctrines are so wonderful, then why do they choose to stay here? Why don't they go to go back to or go to Muslim countries? Now, that may sound like sort of populist rhetoric, but it's so pertinent, isn't it, Elaine? It's so true. They're complaining and running down what goes on here, and yet they choose to stay here.
Well, like I said, they're taught. It's ingrained from the time that they're children that our society is morally corrupt. All right.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of superiority taught. And in fact, in the book, I've broken it down into 5 sections for each grade.
Yeah.
So that,
I mean, just for a slight bit of humor, because we need it desperately, don't we? I mean, I saw a cartoon today on social media that was very, very stark. And you know how, a lot of Muslims say that Islam is the religion of peace. There's a cartoon with a picture of a Muslim man in a suit on a date with a lady that's wearing quite revealing clothes, and he says, there's a speech bubble saying, he says, "Oh, Islam, it's a religion of peace," and the woman he's on a date with in the restaurant, she says, "And I'm a prostitute and a virgin."
Well, no, now this is a very important point, and this is forensic linguistics. So that when we hear the word war, it's entirely different from the Islamic definition of war.
Yes.
You look at the tafsir on Quran 5:33, but we're getting off topic here.
We are.
Defines war as to oppose Muhammad. So I'd rather stick to the book. So because the children are so important. This is the coming generation, and even the generation that's there now have been through this. Okay, these books, and it's the entire English-speaking world I'm speaking of here, all of them, UK, Australia, Britain, or North America, all of them, okay? They use these same texts, and they're shared, all right? So this is the future, and these people are being told lies and badly misinformed. So I've set the book up with each grade divided into sections. And the first section is called Binding Precedent, the Quran, Muhammad, and Sahaba. That's the companions. And the reason is that people so often think, oh, that's history, that's past tense. It is not. This is the basis on which Sharia is made. So that when Sharia depends entirely on the behavior, the actions, the words of Muhammad and Quran. these have always been with Islam. They are never history. They are always with Islam now, today. So it's called Binding Precedent, the Quran, Muhammad, the Sahaba. And these are the stories that the children are given in quite an innocent way, that Muhammad is, you know, he is maligned, he is abused, he is a wonderful kind. They develop a strong love for Muhammad very early on and are taught Arabic, and people have no idea how much Arabic is actually transmitted this way, because the prayers and supplications literally go on all day long. For instance, when a child walks into the bathroom, an adult Muslim, they're supposed to put the left foot first and ask for protection from the male and female jinn, and when they go in, and when they go out, they're thankful for that protection. When they are in there, they must not face the Qibla. They must not say the word Allah. They must not take anything to do with Allah or Muhammad into the bathroom with them, because that is impure with the bathroom. So, but you can't believe when you read this book and you see how deep it is. Like, you say your prayers, and then it's another one that comes after that. You say this 33 times, that 33 times, this 33 times, and that once. When you go to sleep, you say this. When you get up, you say that. When you leave the house, you say this. It goes on all day long. And all the time that this is going on, you're learning more and more Arabic. Okay. You're being programmed, and you're learning more and more Arabic. So a whole crowd of people could come over from Pakistan and walk into a mosque here and have a perfectly good conversation, whereas they would not be able to talk to me. So like I said, the deen covers everything. So Islam advances on all fronts, and people think, oh, well, you know, we'll just worry about religion. No, economic, you know, commerce, finance, behavior. It advances on every front. So, you know, it is all encompassing. And like an example is France. They say, oh, well, we have laissez-faire. We have nothing to do with religion. Well, excuse me, what about trade? What about food? What about all the rest of it? In the schools, it is all going on in advance at a rapid rate. And you're ignoring this because you don't call it religion.
Because in theory,
it is a civilization.
In Britain and France, we have the separation of church and state, in theory, and this is a threat to that, because in a very conservative, well, I know it's exasperating for you when I say in a conservative Muslim country, you know, but you know, like in a country like Saudi, there is no separation between government and Islam. They are synonymous. Do you know what I mean? It's Islam has a state. It's not a state has Islam, and so Section A is this binding precedent. Section B is conflicts and omissions that I identify in the teaching. And you can only do this because I can only do this, frankly, because I have an extremely good knowledge of Islam and its doctrine. Yes, you do.
So for an ordinary, you know, education advisor to read the book, they go, oh, it says peace. Oh, it says this. Oh, it says that. It's fine. And in fact, that has been done. And it is not fine because they have no idea what it is they're actually looking at. Okay. So then Section C is superiority messaging. Section D is group identity and boundary formation and examples of that. Section E is behavioral conditioning through ritual practice, where I get into the details and then I have a conclusion. So yeah, there was something I wanted to show you. Yeah, that's it. I hadn't talked to you about, I'm getting lost.
Yeah. That's quite normal. You're allowed. It happens.
Yeah, well,
even
there's
to the best of us.
We've only got about half an hour. So so what I wanted to say in terms of the methods used, okay. I've already said the repetition, the memorization, they learn the Arabic before they learn the English, okay? So they're memorizing verses in Arabic in grade 1 and 2, and they don't find out what those verses mean until grade 3 a little bit, 4 a little bit more. It's gradual, it's very progressive. So there's repetition, there's memorization, there's ritual practice, and then there's, punishment and reward. There's fear conditioning. There's conformity, group conformity. There's exercises that are required to reinforce what they have been learning, and even sleep regulation. They're told that it's better to pray in the night than it is to sleep. So, and there are these prescribed.
Oh,
The
wow.
detail, the voodoo, the oh my goodness, it is quite
Yeah.
incredible.
Elaine, can I ever so briefly, I'm a bit of a waffler, but I just want to, I think we owe it to our viewers just to make a couple of points. We're not talking about Muslims. We're not attacking Muslims. We're talking about the doctrines and the teachings in the Quran, not about
Oh,
Muslims.
absolutely.
Yeah,
My
and
sympathy.
also the other point was the reason I said I might be exasperating you, Elaine, is because I said about countries like Saudi, and I described them as conservative Muslim countries. Now, we've talked about this many times. There's no
No,
such
no,
thing as
no, no, no,
conservative
no, no,
Islam
no. What they
and
are is stronger,
moderate Islam,
stronger. No,
or
no,
conservative.
no,
Yeah,
they're stronger. When it's weak, you have what you have in the UK right now. When it's strong, you have Saudi. And
yeah,
another thing people don't understand, and they'll learn if they read my book, I hope, is that there are duties. There are 5 pillars of Islam that people are aware of. They aren't aware that the pillar of zakat also finances jihad. The children find that out in later grades, and they learn that jihad can be performed in many ways, including writing and things like this. Okay, so they're familiar with that. What they're not familiar with are the duties of Islam. All right. So there's dawah, and there's the enforcing the right and forbidding the wrong. Okay, which Islam does very, very well. And this is a communal duty. The other communal duty is jihad. There's 3. All right. And
yeah,
so when you have a shop in Texas that is surrounded by Muslims who are saying, like you need to behave, this is good behavior in Islam. So when people hear the word good, they do not understand it must be consistent with Sharia.
yeah,
So yeah, there's a lot to it, but to get back to the book again. So they
yeah,
are taught Sharia in the early grades simply as stories that they are sympathetic to, because they are told very one-sided, very biased. And it's not until the later grades, the very later grades, like 11 and 12, that they start to learn about the structure of Sharia, the hadith, etc. And then when it's presented to them, it's not presented to them in the form of hadad punishments. You're going to get your hand cut off. They're not going to tell them that bit. So, so they're very misled. And, I feel sorry for the woman who lost her job. Obviously, it's not safe to work with her, but she is a victim of what we are allowing to continue by ignoring the fact that Islam is not a religion. It is a civilization, and we have to stop allowing this to carry on. It's destroying the lives of Muslims as well as everybody else. I really hope Muslims read my book. I really do, to understand how they have been brainwashed.
Because I've said to many people when I'm talking about you, Elaine, I've said to people that you, over the years, to emphasize that we're not attacking Muslim people, individual Muslims,
Oh, of course not.
you have helped and counseled and assisted Muslims over the years in trouble, Muslims that have been victims of this doctrine of these teachings. So
I don't want to make too much of
helped
a deal out
Muslims.
of it, but sometimes they reach out to me, and I have tried to help, because if you look at any of these activist organizations, they're constantly going on about what is wrong with the West and how wonderful Islam is, and encouraging more and more people to believe these absolute lies. And and do you ever hear them say a word about the people in Afghanistan, those women? Never, never. And this is just wrong. They pretend that children are never given any idea that what happens in Afghanistan has anything at all to do with Islam. They have no clue.
And how, for example, you see these sort of messy protests, and I hate talking about left and right, but I'm going to do it. When you see sort of leftist protests, they'll have the LGBT flag up, and then they'll have the Palestine flag up at the same time. Talk about conflating things which, first of all, you can't understand how they go together. But secondly, if you look into it, they really do not go together, and it's just like this mishmash of flags, and it's
Oh,
just
well,
messy.
everything comes out of Muhammad's playbook. There is nothing new under the sun. Okay. And like I said, the first section is called, binding precedent. And his example is the example that all Muslims are supposed to follow. And when Muhammad got started, who joined him? The disenfranchised. And what is happening today? So we go to the marginal groups, the people who have got a beef, etc. Those are the ones that are easy to grab and bring to Islam. He also, when he gained strength and he was in Medina, and when he died, and what his last words were, is that they should continue, that the Jews should be eliminated, the pagans, the Jews, the unbelievers should be eliminated from the Arabian Peninsula, but also that they should continue to give gifts to the foreign delegates as he had seen them doing it. So you've got those two, what would you call it? Publics, the people, the promoters. All right. How do you grab the crowd? Okay. You go for the disenfranchised. You go for the people who have a complaint, and you get them to join you. And that is what they do. And then they cast them aside. I mean, look at what is happening with what happened with Iran. And that's all part of what's called the project in modern terms. The Muslim Brotherhood have laid it out very specifically how this is achieved. But it's simply an old tool of Muhammad's. It's the same thing. There's nothing new.
Elaine, we could talk obviously for a long time, but unfortunately we can't and we won't.
Oh, I wanted to show people the book. Now, like
give us the title of the book, and where they can find it right now, where they can purchase it right now.
Yeah, because it's available on Amazon right now. It will be available on other platforms and Apple. Okay, it will be available on other platforms. But I ran into a problem, uploading the cover. And what I'll tell your listeners here is that the book is self-published. And that means it's only the people I myself can reach who will ever even hear about it. So if you want to help future generations, which is the only reason I do this, then please share the book because you are the only way that it can be promoted. I can't be both a researcher and a writer and everything else and a celebrity. So I rely on other people to please share it, or else the publishers win. And the publishers are silencing. There was a book ban just last week, and they've silenced many good books like mine. And many of them do it out of a risk assessment. They're afraid of Charlie Hebdo or something. They simply will not take on books like mine. And so the public is the poorer for it. And I really rely on your followers. Please share my book. I need your help.
Elaine, you need
my help. I need yours.
The more individuals, like with any activism, I mean, this is more than activism, this is major activism, obviously, but with any activism, the more people that step out of fear, the more people that actually bravely take that step, take that risk, feel the fear and do it anyway, then more people follow, and it goes from being a minority thing to a majority, and strength in numbers. If the more people that take that step and stand out.
That sometimes I think people don't want to share my book. They feel like they're being used as a promoter. Well, am I being used? No, I'm doing all this for future generations, but I need help to share it. And I really, really need that help. I can't underscore that enough. So, so I'm trying to stop share here.
Lovely picture, beautiful picture there of the book. Wow, you're good with technology. You're better with all that than I am, actually. I'm going to say it.
I know, it's ridiculous. I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
So if there's any celebrities out there who see my book and they want to help mankind, okay, you're not doing it for me. You're doing it for the little kids. Please promote my book.
You're a celebrity. You're a celebrity in my eyes, Elaine. Hopefully that's a compliment.
All right. Well, we should back this in. I think we're going over that.
I think we've gone to 33 minutes, so not too bad.
All right.
All the three.
Always a
All
pleasure.
right. Thank you, Elaine.
All right.
Speak to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.